Mini brisket. Is it gonna smoke? Is it gonna be juicy? Let's find out. Today, we're doing a mini brisket. As you can see, it's just a cut of the brisket, and we got her seasoned up with the world champion heavy smoke, as well as Blues Hogs Bold and Beefy. That heavy smoke is the black label. And we're gonna go ahead and get this thrown on there. I actually injected it with the Lucky Charms Angry Bull competition injection. And look at the color on that. We just got it thrown on there, and hopefully you guys enjoy today's video. We're gonna be doing a foil boat method. Alrighty guys, my Gravity 980 is fired up with the TheGoodCharcoal Company. Good charcoal, it's real hard wood. And look at the color. This is about an hour and a half, 90 minutes into the cook. I've got a water bottle that I just poked a hole in the lid, and I've got a 50-50 mixture of apple cider vinegar as well as water. And just basically mopping this little mini brisket here. Look at the grill marks I got. I'm rolling at right around 275 degrees, going hot and fast. It's got a big sliver of fat there. You'll see a little later on in the video, you can see all the fat there is between that lean and fatty part of the brisket. And here's a couple photos of the MeatStick color shots here, as well as going into the app, showing a little bit of how that works. When you click it, you can change to see what the setting is. You can see my target temperature. I was looking around that 170 degree mark, and that's when I know that I'm going to pull it to wrap it. And it's very user friendly. You can see all the different degrees you can set it at, and just wanted to show that again, to just look at the color that you get with those two rubs. And we'll go ahead and fast forward through this part here and get to when I'm going to wrap it in the foil boat. I actually am just going to use one of these little pans, and all I'm going to do is put some beef broth that I have heated up. I've got some Better Than Bouillon beef paste that I put in there, as well as some hot water to melt that. And I put in some of the injection powder. And I'm gonna go pull that brisket off the smoker. You can kind of see the color I got. It's been on for about 3 hours. I got it from my local butcher. And I'm not sure they knew I don't think they knew what I know about barbecue. I think they could just give me a part of the brisket when I had asked for the full Packers brisket. And the full Packers brisket, there's two halves to the brisket. It actually comes from the neck of the beef. And there's two sides. There's a left and a right. Some people prefer one side or the other. I just wanted the whole thing, and I just got a slice of it, even though I had requested it. So your best luck is probably going to be just go to your local store. You can see it's a great big piece of meat, 15 all the way up to 24 pounds. So word of advice, cotton knit gloves from your local hardware store to do barbecue and smoking and grilling. It protects your hands. You don't have to go get a fancy set of gloves, grill gloves, those silicone gloves. These work just as good, if not better. Putting on a pair of these and then putting on a nitrile set of gloves on top of it. And you'll see what that looks like here in a bit when I come walking in with that brisket. Here is the brisket I'm just walking in with. You see how that fat is rendering really nicely? And you can see my MeatStick probe. This is part of the lean. Like I said, it's a real small piece of brisket. And I've got that in the lean because that typically takes the longest to go, but oh my, look at that bark. We seasoned it with heavy smoke, Black Label, as well as injected it with Angry Bull from LC Lucky Charms, Angry Bull competition injection. And you can just see how juicy that fat is rendering very, very nicely. And what else did I season it with? Oh. And we seasoned it with that bold and beefy from Blues Hog. I mean, look at how good that looks. Some of the edges are getting a little dark, but every once in a while somebody likes a little bit of crispy. I mean, this is probably close to 200 degrees on the outside, and you could see how long I was holding it for. It doesn't bother me one bit. And before I get to talking too long, I'm just gonna put this broth in. Try not to make too much of a mess. And the MeatStick told me this meat got to about 170 degrees but I'm just kind of submerging this for the most part. I'll see if I can't get a better camera angle of it here. And we'll get this right back on the smoker and we'll come right back to it when we're done. This baby is just finished up. Look at the crust on it. Pretty phenomenal. It's a little tight in a couple spots, but it's good enough for me. It feels pretty good in the majority of it. And that top is just butter. I mean, you can see it. Fat rendered beautifully. Brisket just got done resting. I used a trick that I picked up from watching. Cosmos Q suggested when you're done with your brisket to take a bunch of plastic wrap, lay it out, set your brisket on there, add a little bit of that jus back, and the edges of the brisket will soften up. I used the foil boat method to cook this brisket, and remember I seasoned it with that LC Angry Bull competition injection. Then I seasoned it with heavy smoke Black Label as well as the bold and beefy from Blues Hog. And you can see here. So not only did I wrap it in that plastic wrap, I wrapped it in a whole bunch of tin foil. And just to, one, retain that heat as it rested. It's still pretty warm, but I rested it for quite a few hours. 3.5 hours is what I rested it at, and it is still going to be almost too hot to the touch, which is why I have this glove. It's always good to wear gloves when you're serving food, and I'm going to be serving to my family and friends. And wow, that fat has rendered out beautifully. Let's get this out on the board. So as you can see here, this is actually the flat, the lean part of the brisket, and this part on top is what they call the point. So we'll separate those two, and I'll do some trimming up here of the fat to clean it up. some nice cuts here. Ooh, look at that smoldering. So the foil boat method, I did like it. I just didn't like how you only get real nice bark on the one, the part that is out of the part that is out of the liquid. So that's a really nice piece of flat there. You can see the nice pink ring. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna finish these slices, and I've got some jus, some au jus, the drippings from the wrap, as well as from the foil boat that I'm going to put this in. And it is fall apart tender. I wish it was a big one, but for a mini brisket, I'll take that all day long. You can see how it's holding up pretty well, but the pull part, it just pulls right apart, which means it's gonna have great texture. It's still very moist, so I think that foil boat method worked at retaining some of that moisture. You can see how juicy that is. And look at that beautiful smoke ring. It's nice and pink. When you get a little too dark on that smoke ring, you tend to dry out your brisket. So that's one thing you want to be careful of. But I think that foil boat method, I enjoyed it for this little mini brisket. I'm not sure if I want to use it on a full brisket, but don't knock it till you try it, I guess. I'm gonna cut some of this fat off here so I can trim up some mini burnt ends. All right, I got as much fat off of there that I wanted to get. We'll go and chunk these pieces of the point, which is typically the top part of that brisket, and it's the fattier of the two pieces, and it's typically more tender. So I'm trying to break this bark without shredding the meat because it is very tender. And this part was in the foil boat, so it's real tender. This is the bottom end. But look at that nice piece of fatty. The fatty part of the brisket, that point, that's what you get, those burnt ends. And these are just, I mean, look at, these are just fall apart tender. They'll be some really good eating. So, if anything to take away from this is, to me, it's trickier. This was a trickier cook. There you can see where I had the old meat stick. So I went ahead and grabbed that au jus, poured it in, and these are some of the final shots here. That brisket was delicious. My family loved it, and I hope you guys loved today's video. And make sure to like, subscribe. Catch you on the next one.